Good afternoon and welcome to the Laxey Working Men's Institute.
It is very busy here, as you can probably hear. We've just walked into the main hall here. Of course, there's two levels to this place. There's lots to explore and a lot of people to talk to.
There really are. We're going to get a real flavour of what goes on in this area. And if you can guess why we've chosen our first song as well, you get 10 points. Text 166 177.
Put the tea down, Beth.
Do you know why we chose it? Do you?
Well, I do, because I think, I was there when you put it in the system, but Steelers Wheel.
Yay! And we're in Laxey.
Stuck in the middle of Laxey with you.
You can't write this. You can't.
I know.
You really can't.
So we didn't do a soul starter today because we thought, you know what, that makes a bit more sense and a bit more fun, and it's a great song anyway to start today's programme.
But welcome to the latest in our Village Hall series. We are in the heart of Laxey, in the Laxey Working Men's Institute. We've got so many people to speak to over the course of the next hour. There will be an exclusive podcast after the show as well, but so much happening here, Christy.
Yeah, to be fair, I think Laxey is one of those places that it's very much a hidden gem, and there is an initiative that's being started up that we're going to find out more about in just a moment that's hoping to bring Laxey a bit more to the wider world. But of course, it has three working vintage railways. There's the Laxey mines, of course, which were the deepest in the world during the 1800s. It has the largest working water wheel in the world, as we all know, Lady Isabella, and it's also the location of King Orry's grave. So it's a fairly special place.
Yeah, it's pretty special. And what we need for these programmes is somebody very special to organise all the people who come together and spend their time with us. And we found that in Val Kinraid. Val, thank you so much for having us here this afternoon.
It's our great pleasure to have you here today.
So tell us about your role within Laxey then.
Okay, so I'm involved in one of the management committee of the Institute. I'm also involved as a worship leader of Laxey Methodist Church, and then I'm also involved in the Visit Laxey Valley project along with Richard Hubbard, who's my husband's cousin.
I love that. There's always a sort of familiar link.
Well, you know, we are the Isle of Man. We have to have a link, don't we?
And you mentioned the church there, and we're going to come to that in just a moment, because there clearly is a really important role that the church plays within Laxey, and we'll find out more about that in a moment. But you mentioned Visit Laxey Valley. Just explain what that is for us.
Okay, so Visit Laxey Valley came about. Richard and Tina Hubbard came along with Tina's sister Jane to scatter Auntie Margaret's ashes. Auntie Margaret was again my husband's aunt, and she moved out in the 1950s, left Laxey, went to live in Sheffield. All her life her heart has been in Laxey, and sadly when her husband died she was too poorly to come back to Laxey, so she unfortunately developed dementia, and the last few years she lived in Laxey, and so they came to scatter her ashes. And Richard is a geologist. He was chief geologist for BP, and he's always been interested in Laxey as a mining sort of village, and said, wouldn't it be absolutely wonderful if we could have a mining museum here like you have around the world. And so he spoke to Edmund Southworth, and Edmund said, well, actually, have you thought about heritage? So Richard came away, and so Richard and Tina and my husband Edwin Kinraid and I sat down and thought, what could we do? What would be a really good memorial for Auntie Margaret? And so we've hit upon the Laxey Valley Heritage Trail.
I love that this all stemmed from Auntie Margaret. How absolutely wonderful is that? And there's a lot involved in this, isn't there? Because there's a film and all sorts going on, isn't there?
Yes, there is. So our aim is to attract villagers, is to attract people to come to Laxey, so to attract visitors and actually people from around the Isle of Man, because it's a long day out for coming from somewhere like Port St Mary to Laxey.
It's at least 20 minutes, you know.
When we come from Peel, we bring our own sandwiches, we do.
Right, so we want to encourage people to spend a full day in Laxey and explore the gems around the village. We're advertising on Visit Isle of Man, and also, and this is really interesting, Julia Bradbury's her outdoor guide, we're advertising that as well. Richard wrote to Julia and said, look, you know, we're doing this Visit Laxey Valley, would you like to sort of be part of it? And they wrote back and said, yes, send us all the details. And so they have a huge audience, and I know she was very impressed when she came to Laxey previously. So our new Captain Row greeting, which stars Chris Kane as Captain Rowe, was sponsored by the Donald Collister Trust, which is administered by Edmund and the Manx National Heritage. And so in the short greeting video, Captain Rowe is going to welcome people and he's going to tell them something about the mine, and then we're going to have the 10 things to see and do, which is in a little leaflet that we have. And so that's going to encourage people to come to when they come to Laxey, come and actually explore the whole of the valley, and the valley being summit to shore, so from Snaefell right down to the shoreline.
And what's wonderful about this is it really does feel like the whole of Laxey is behind it, doesn't it?
Oh, it really does. And we mentioned as well there that the church is very much a sort of hub really in Laxey, and we're joined now by Reverend Joe Dudley. In fact, the church itself has quite an important part to play in this Visit Laxey Valley initiative, doesn't it, Joe?
Yes, it certainly does. It was last September when the Archdeacon had been to the village church, Christ Church, which is next to the tram station, and he had informed the PCC that if we couldn't pay our way, which means paying something like just under £40,000. There's a misapprehension that the church is rich. It isn't. It's made up with the funds that people can donate who attend. So he had been to the PCC meeting and said the parish will not be viable if you can't pay your way, and one or two other criteria. Well, we managed to fulfil the other criteria, but the actual raising the money was something that needed to be thought about. He left the church at 12 o'clock, I went for lunch, and then at 1 o'clock in through the door came a very large guy called Richard Hubbard. Now, I'd never heard of Richard Hubbard, I didn't know who he was, and he just walked in. He said, could this church be used as the welcome centre for Visit Laxey Valley? I thought, thank you, Lord, it could. And hopefully, and we pray, very prayerfully hope that it will be the way that the parish will be able to stay viable. So it will be the Welcome Centre. We open on the 29th of June at 12 o'clock. There will be an opening ceremony, 12 till 1, people who've helped, all the people who've sponsored it and all the different things. We're inviting them to be there, then go down to the fair where we continue to tell everybody how they can come and watch this video, which will explain everything about it'll take about 20 minutes, as I understand it, explaining all about the heritage of the village. Laxey I'd never heard of some 9 years ago. I hadn't really heard of the Isle of Man, having lived in Essex and served for 30 years in Essex Police. I came over here, I've been ordained 13 years, and it's a secret, this village, but it's a secret we want to share with everybody, whether they're white-haired like me or youngsters I'm sure you'll hear from later. They all need to know what a heritage it is that we've got and how we should protect it. But the church itself, as I started to say, was the Welcome Centre, and the buses will stop there, we hope, and take people around the village to see everything that there is to see in our lovely, no longer secret, but wonderful valley, where it's such a pleasure to live.
How wonderful. So a couple of busy weeks moving on to this then. But yeah, Christy, so much happens in here.
It really does. The Working Men's Institute itself, which is where we are right now, and thank you very much to Joe and Val for that, and we look forward to the fun day and the fair day, which is when all of this will be revealed. We're in the Working Men's Institute itself, and we decided that this would be an appropriate sort of hub really to talk to members of the community and find out about Visit Laxey Valley as well. And we're speaking now to people who know very much about the Institute and also who've been involved in the renovation, which is quite extraordinary. Dennis Goddard, thank you for being here this afternoon. What has been your part in the restoration?
Joker.
When did you get involved with this?
Memory's gone.
Right towards the start. This is Dennis Goddard. He's one of our trustees and one of our directors. And with Dennis's help, fundraising, etc., we began to make the start on the beginnings of renovating the building. And Dennis has been round the table since that point, keeping us all in order as a retired captain. And trying to make sure we don't go off course.
That's the voice there of Richard Henthorne. So why was it important to you that this happened, Dennis?
A village without a hall is not a village. You need a meeting place. This place, it was a disaster. How they could let it rot like they did, it's unbelievable. But I wasn't in at the beginning. The beginning was 4 blokes sitting round the table in a pub with pints in their hands.
Where all the best ideas come from.
Well, I don't know. One of them, Richard, suggested that they might like to do something for the good of the village. And the following week, when they'd sobered up, they said, "What were you on about?" And he said, "There's the institute there." He said, "We could go and have a look at that, see what we can do." And that started it.
And Peter Burgess, you have been heavily involved in this. I mean, what does it take to renovate a building of this nature?
A lot of hard work and graft. We all got stuck in, rolled our sleeves up. I remember one of the first days we came down here, we were spent a good, pretty much most of Saturday morning stripping all the material off the wall, which was soaking wet, chucking it out of the window and trying desperately to burn it. And we just went from there, and it was a bit at a time, and we didn't have any money to start with. And again, to do the work we needed to do, we had to fundraise, and we were very lucky early on to get a donation from an anonymous benefactor, and that really kick-started us, and that was enabled us to do some of the structural repairs. And then it just went from there. And once people saw what we were doing and the enthusiasm we had for it, we just went from strength to strength. So we started in 2007 and we reopened in 2011.
And Richard, the thing about it is it's been very sensitively done, hasn't it? Because although this has become very much a modern community centre, you have all sorts of gigs here, you have everything from yoga to dogs clubs to sketching to all sorts. It also has very much preserved and paid attention, I think, to the history, hasn't it?
Well, it was one of only 2 registered buildings in the village, so we knew we had to have sensitive restoration. So the first thing we did, we went to the government's conservation officer at the time, and we said, what can we do? And so he came up and gave us loads of good advice, and I think even the government helped us to with some financial work payment for the roof and some of the nice ornate tiles that go across the top on the ridge, and also the windows, which are these are the only 3 original windows left in the building, these arched ones. The rest all had to be replaced with hardwood, and they had to be sliding sash like they were before, and they're expensive to manufacture. Also the coving around the building all had to be remanufactured to the original thing. So as long as we stuck to the original thing and didn't turn it into some crazy, mad, modern art thing, they were okay. And the exterior was just going to be replaced as the exterior. So that's how we sort of got started, and that's how it went along, really.
And the rest, as they say, is history. But what a history that's all being made here. It's absolutely stunning.
It really is.
We are live from the Laxey Working Men's Institute this afternoon. We're going to be talking to some of the people who use this building after this.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
We are at the Working Men's Institute this afternoon in Laxey. We're here until 3 p.m, and then we will be doing a podcast after the show as well. Speaking now to Nigel Dobson from the Commissioners, from Garth Commissioners. Now, Nigel, how long have you been in this area?
Well, I was a London Commissioner originally, some 14 years ago I joined, and Chairman of Garth for the first 3 years when the new authority was created.
And what is it about this area that makes it so special?
I think it's a beautiful green area, it's got a strong community spirit, and it's just a lovely place to live.
And one of the things that's happened recently is you've had an association with Biosphere, haven't you?
Yeah, the island went Biosphere a little while back, as you know, and we as a local authority thought it would be nice if we actually signed up to the initiative rather than just do the stuff. I have to say that we blame Laxey Schools because they've been badgering us over the last year or 2 or 3 on various environmental projects, and we're more than happy to have got involved with them on it.
It does seem very much like, and we will be speaking to some of the young people from the school in a moment, but it seems very much like Laxey's quite progressive on a lot of issues.
Yeah, I like to think so. Certainly on the biosphere stake. I think we were the first authority on the island to assist the local community with the reusable water refills at all the retail outlets throughout Laxey, which the retailers have all cooperated with. We work with Beach Buddies, or the school works with Beach Buddies for beach cleaning. We as an authority, because the kids were keen on doing it, we went out and bought them a load of litter pickers and a compost thing. And yeah, so we try to work with the other organisations within the community to get things done.
And it's the perfect community for it, really, isn't it? Because it is so beautiful here. You've got everything from the glens right down to the beach. So you've got every sort of aspect of nature in a way. And there is something else that's happening soon to do with the glens and native species.
Yeah, again, I have to say that we're being bullied by Laxey School again. They've come up with an idea that perhaps we organise a competition next year. It's very early stages, but we're certainly going to give it a serious consideration. Where in Laxey Valley Gardens, for instance, we do planting to encourage hedgehogs and bees and birds with indigenous species, and more of a wild type of feel, and encourage residents to do something like that in their gardens and have a competition to see which is the most nature-friendly garden in the area, and that kind of thing. Hopefully that'll happen next year.
Fantastic. Well, we've been talking a lot about the children and how they have been really leading a lot of these initiatives. So thank you so much to Head Teacher Max Kelly, who's come down here, especially this afternoon. He's running away from the microphones. I can see Mr. Kelly sort of just
skulking around. You can come over here. You're in the spotlight too.
But you know what? It's because he is very aware that his pupils here are the driving force behind a lot of what's going on. We'll talk to them in just a second, but you must be very proud of them, Mr. Kelly.
Very proud indeed, and you're right, they are the driving force, and they'll tell you all that you need to know about what they've been up to.
So he's good at this.
Yeah.
Passing it
the
on.
book. So we've got some Year 6 pupils here. Let's just go around and find out what your names are.
My name's Jack. My name is Isla. My name is Naomi. My name's Greya. My name is Thomas. Hi, my name's Nathan.
Right, so lovely of you all to be here. But tell us first of all, Jack, we've heard from Mr. Dobson there and the commissioners about the fact that Laxey School is really passionate about protecting the environment and looking after the climate.
Yes, we are, because we've done lots of cleans. We went down to the glen, we found so much rubbish, and we've just been really compassionate and stuff about stopping atrocities to happen.
So what sort of things have you done? We've heard about the beach cleanups, but there's been a lot of letter writing as well.
Yes, we wrote letters to lots of companies who use plastic, straws or packaging, and we've got some of them to change their straw. We've got McDonald's to change their straws to paper ones, so we're not hurting the environment as much.
And why is it so important for you all to be involved in this way, would you say?
I would say it's important for our futures and for wildlife out there, but also I don't think we could have done this without Mr. Kelly helping us.
He is very much, again, a driving force here, but he doesn't want us to speak to him. He wants us to speak to the students. So tell us a bit about some of you've been involved in some conferences recently. Tell us about Bright Futures.
Well, us as a school and other schools around the island went to I don't know how to pronounce this, like the Parliament of Government building in Douglas, and tons of people were there, and we got to learn some stuff about it, and we were just talking about how we're doing well as a school and how we're reducing our plastic.
And have you noticed then, because it does seem that this has been now taken on by a lot of young people and a lot of students across the island as well, so you must be quite proud of yourselves for doing this. What does it feel like to be involved in all of this?
Well, it just feels so amazing because we're just feeling people just globally, people in Thailand was doing a beach clean just because we've done it on our small little island.
And if you wanted to give a message to people listening about how important it is that they follow your lead, what would that message be?
Obviously we find it really important because of if we don't get rid of plastic, obviously stuff is going to happen in the future, and we don't want that to happen, so we would like people to listen to us before something terrible happens.
Do you know what, I am just so grateful that we've got people like this in the next generation who are spearheading things at such a young age.
Do you know what, I can't believe how confident, how mature they are, and when it comes down to it, Mr. Kelly, the future is in their hands, and it seems like it's going to be quite a bright one in the hands of this lot.
They're a great bunch, and the work that they've done is being recognised internationally. We've had a school in Thailand, haven't we? We've got in touch and said, we'd like to do what you've been doing in Laxey. We've been recognised with a shortlisting for a national award, so we're going off to London this time next week, to find out how we've done in that. And that's all for the sustainability and eco work that this bunch and everyone back at Laxey School have been doing, so it's been great. So we're very proud.
Do keep us posted on how they get on with that. All the very best to you guys. Thank you so much for coming down. They've probably got some schoolwork to do, but I think they've maybe earned a bit of time off this afternoon. They've done very well. Thank you so much for being with us. Well done, everybody.
We are live from the Laxey Working Men's Institute. If you head to the Manx Radio Facebook page, lots of video on there. Our Sarah Hendy is doing a sterling job there. But we'll just wander down here because there's quite a famous face sitting on the stage.
There is quite a famous face sitting on the stage.
I like how
we don't mean our
her.
Matty. I know. It's actual Mira Royal. I don't know, a week ago she was talking live on the telephone to Mark Radcliffe on actual BBC Radio 2, and now she's here with us. She's made it.
Lucky girl.
I wouldn't say I've made it, but it was very, very, very exciting.
Just tell us about what you were talking to him about.
It was very, very just a very informal conversation really. He was asking me about what I've been up to this year and the Kendall weekend for the BBC Folk Awards. I was telling him about that and all the things we got up to and how fun it was. It was nice to speak to him. Yeah.
Oh, those Folk Awards, you did all right there, didn't you?
I didn't do too bad. Honestly, didn't expect to do as well as I did. It was just completely on the off chance that I might get in. I'll send something off. And somehow I ended up winning it.
I think you were encouraged by your mum, weren't you, who said you
Yeah.
might as well do it, which is lovely. And I have to say, we were talking about you recently because I think the fact that you have achieved what you've achieved has very much helped to put the Isle of Man back on the map, hasn't it? Because a lot of people do seem to be asking now about the island that maybe wouldn't have done previously.
Yeah, I think as well, because there was she was in the BBC Awards as well with me, and so and Emar and
Allow as well.
Yeah, they were represented at the Folk Awards. So there was a really big sort of Isle of Man community that was there up against all the Scottish and Irish nations.
And what has it meant for you since you've won that award? How have things changed for you?
I get asked to play a lot more now, and also compose a lot. I've done quite a lot of film composition projects this year, and that's been really amazing to get that experience.
Because you are passionate about film, aren't you? And we were talking before about Visit Laxey Valley, and I believe you've written a piece especially for that film.
I did. It was a video which told the story of a miner called Captain Rowe, and he's talking about what happened and things, and I wrote a piece of music to go behind his talk, and it was really good fun actually. Yeah.
And you know how you get asked to play at a lot of places, and you know how you're here now, and I happen to notice your harp.
There's a harp.
Is just behind us. Would you be able to play something for us now?
Of course I can. Yeah, I'll give you a wee expert from Nataliana, which is written by Deborah Henson Conant, who's an American harpist. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. You go and get yourself settled.
The thing about what Mira does, which comes across every time she plays, is she's not just a trad or folk harpist. She interprets so many different styles of music with what she does, and that's a perfect example of what she's going to play for us now. We're very fortunate to have Mira here. Just so you know, ladies and gentlemen, we'll tell the room, Mira Royal is now going to play something on the harp for us in case you would like to enjoy that. Mira, take it away, please. Oh my word. That girl is ridiculously talented. Seriously, she deserves all of the accolades. Mira Royal, thank you so much for doing that for us.
We are live from the Laxey Working Men's Institute. We're going to be talking to some of the people who use this building just after this.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
And welcome back to the Laxey Working Men's Institute, the latest in our Village Hall series. And again, we've only scratched the surface so far.
I know, do you know, we have so many people to talk to, so we're going to do a bit of a sort of round robin thing, I think, and just speak to as many people as we can who are huddled around various plates of cake and cups of tea. There's a trolley that's laden still with tea and cake. Don't worry, you'll get some later, Beth. I'm joined now by, we've actually got Kerry Sharp MLC with us, and we've got Colin Ring. But Kerry, you're here talking about nothing to do with politics today, are you?
No, definitely not. Just to do with singing and tea and cake.
So, Colin, tell us about the choirs.
Well, the Laxey and Lonnon Community Choir has been going for about 7 years now, and we meet on a Thursday night during term time at Laxey Methodist Church at 7 o'clock. We sing for an hour. They sing and talk for an hour, and then they have a cup of tea and biscuit for about another half hour, and sometimes cake. We have all sorts. It is purely a community choir. Anyone can join, no auditions, so you're more than welcome.
And the thing about this, Kerry, isn't it? It's so important because of that community spirit that Colin's talking about. It's not necessarily about the music sometimes, is it?
No, I mean, I'm sure the members of the choir wouldn't mind me saying that it's not necessarily singing that's our forte. I mean, like, we sing and we enjoy it, but I mean, there's no audition, as Colin says, and it's all about just getting together and having fun, and everybody comes out feeling so much better, and it's just a great way to bring together all different ages, you know, and also you see, like, members of the choir, you know, people go through bereavements, they go through births, they go through marriages, they go through illnesses, you know, and like the choir is this constant thing in their life that they keep returning to week in and week out. And we were just saying earlier that we've still got the core members that started in the very first place, you know, that they're still with us.
It's a lovely thing. So is there space for anyone if they do want to get involved?
Absolutely, yeah. We're always looking for people. I mean, as I say, they don't need to worry about singing. It's the community choirs, as it says, we think it's just as important, the cup of tea and the biscuit at the end.
I can mime. I could mime really well.
You'd do that just for the tea and biscuit, wouldn't you?
I would, certainly would. Do you know, something else that happens here every Wednesday evening is the Dog Club. So they meet here every Wednesday night. It was founded back in 1982. We were talking to Judy Brown, who's one of the founding members, earlier. They have an annual dog show, which they have done for the last 20 years. It raises thousands of pounds for charity, not just animal charities. But if you want to find out any information about that, you have to have a dog, obviously. It's probably helpful. But they've got a wonderful Facebook page, which we will post a link to.
We will do. It'd be so much fun to come down here and see that, especially the agility. I'm joined now by Christine Carter, who's here representing the Laxey and Lonnon branch of the Isle of Man Anti-Cancer Association. I believe a very special anniversary this year.
We are 60 years old this year, yes. There's lots of celebrations going on throughout the island with every branch. So we've got a dinner next week that's going to celebrate it up at the Corn Mill. And but we're also having another pop-up shop which we have regularly, usually in the church, but this time we're in Buldrine Hall in July, and we just have fun when we're doing our fundraising, and we raise on average about £10,000 a year here in Laxey and Lonnon.
So a very giving community by the sound of things.
We couldn't do it without them.
And I think that's the thing, is that you're clearly very active in this community, and everyone does seem to just sort of come together to support each other.
We couldn't do it without most of the people in this room, especially the Reverend Joe, who's been so good to us over the years. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Well, let's find out about an event that is happening this weekend. We're talking now to Sally Woodhouse from the Manx Craft Guild. And Sally, there is a craft fair here tomorrow?
Yes, there is. We are trading from 10:30 in the morning till 3:30. There will be, I think there's 16 crafters coming tomorrow, and the members of the Laxey Minorca Methodist Church will be here doing teas, coffees, cakes, bacon baps, which are all lovely.
And I've just seen some of your work, which is just beautiful. How would you describe it?
Oh, well, I can say I do get around the island, so quite a lot of people would have seen. It's Manx Lockton sheep. So it's actually crocheted using Manx Lockton wool. And it's blue and green, and it kind of stands out wherever you see it. So.
Oh, Sally, thank you so much for that. So the craft fair happening here tomorrow.
I've got another slightly crafty person beside me, someone who's very creative anyway. We've got Alice Quayle standing with us now. And Alice, you are known for your rather inventive and quirky maps. What have you been working on recently?
Val Kinraid and the Visit Laxey Valley project team have got me to do a new illustrated map of the centre of Laxey to help visitors find their way around. So it's just what I do generally, but it's really cool to be asked to do it for Laxey because Laxey's ace, and it's just quite good. It's a valley. It's a valley by the sea with loads of woods and loads of industrial archaeology and funny trams, and it's got a snail and a giant water wheel. I mean, it's a bit unique.
It is unique. Laxey's a unique place, and as you've just summed up there is so much to see in Laxey. So congratulations for managing to get all that in. Thanks, Alice.
Another event that happens in here on a weekly basis is the Sketch Club. And if I can just squeeze myself in here, we've got Norman McKibben, and just tell us a little bit about the history of the Sketch Club briefly.
Well, maybe it would be better if Katie told you, because she was one of the very first members.
Oh, right, okay. So would you like to introduce yourself for us?
Hello.
Hello. So how did the Sketch Club get started?
Well, quite a few of us arrived back in Laxey in 1964, and we met up at various things and discovered we were all painters. So we then used to go around the village and paint. We weren't a sketch club then, and then we thought, well, perhaps we'd better get it into something a bit more organised. So we had a meeting and formed a sketch club. Norman joined us then. He was a bit younger than us, and we had Anne and Morris Heath, who had been artists in London. We had Helen and Tony Percival that came from somewhere or the other in England. I can't remember. Oh, and Rodney and Grace. Rodney lived up over the harbour, and he'd been an artist painting down by the boats in the riverside in south of England somewhere.
So it's got a fantastic history. We're going to do a special podcast after the programme, because it'd be great to get some more of the history of the Sketch Club and also how people can get involved. There's some beautiful examples here, Christy, of some work here, which you'll be able to see on the Manx Radio Facebook page.
Absolutely lovely. And two of the things we've talked about a lot so far in the programme are the church itself. We're talking now about the Laxey Methodist Church, but also the youth of the island. And Fiona Cracknell, you kind of bring that together, the youth of Laxey, because you've only just recently retired, haven't you, from heading up the Laxey Youth Club?
I have. I've passed on my mantle as youth worker in charge, having done it for 20 years, but still involved with it, doing supply work, and my son still helps out with the youth club as well, so I'm still very involved in it. But some of the children that you've spoken to from Laxey School are in the club. We have a thriving youth club in Laxey with over 100 children, covering from Baldrine right through to the Doon, Mackald area. They come along. We have years 4, 5 and 6 at Laxey School on a Friday evening, and then years 7 and over in the youth centre that we have in the village, which was the old doctor's surgery, doing a range of arts and crafts and sports and keeping them busy and entertained.
So there's something for everyone. And is there space at the moment?
Always space in the club. You can just turn up on one of the evenings. We've got details on our Facebook page, or you can send us a message on that, contact us, give one of us a ring. Yeah, always welcome any new members coming along, and they just have a great time. Ask any of them about it.
Thank you very much, Fiona.
Just a couple of minutes before the end of the programme, but I'm just moving towards the man who's described as the history man of Laxey and Lonnon, Andrew Scarf. I mean, it's fair to say you're fairly passionate about this area.
Absolutely, indeed. Lived, breathed it. Lived here all my life, totally absorbed in the community and the history of it, yeah, indeed, yeah.
Well, we're coming to the end of this programme. It'd be great to talk to you afterwards just a little bit more about the history, but the railway is something that's particularly a passion of yours.
It is indeed. Well, two railways. One's my job in the Manx Electric Railway. I work in the engineering department, but also lead a very small team of volunteers who are quite anonymous, stay behind the scenes and do a lot of restoration work on the trams. We've just actually finished another one today, which has gone back, an old trailer, dates right back to the beginning of the line in 1893. It's not run for 50 years, and we're just finishing the volunteers' work on it today, and that's going to be back in service in 3 weeks. That's another achievement. My other involvement railway-wise is the Great Laxey Mine Railway, and I've been in that since 2002, I think it was. It was a few years
That
now.
really could be described as one of our hidden gems, couldn't it?
The mine railway, unfortunately, yes, it tends to be a little bit hidden, and people don't seem to know it there, despite us advertising it, publicising it. still seem to come across it and say, oh, I didn't know this was here, but maybe our advertising's not quite as good as it should be.
Well, we were talking right at the start of the show about how Laxey is going to be promoted from now on, Christy.
Yeah, the Visit Laxey Valley initiative seems like a really good idea to actually bring a lot of these things to light. So fingers crossed there'll be a lot more people using these railways and becoming more aware of the hidden gems. There is so much going on in Laxey, I have to say. I kind of want to move here, Beth.
I know, it is one of those places, isn't it? And the idea that you could spend a whole day here and it really does encapsulate so many different things about the Isle of Man.
It does, yeah, and as we've said before, so much to do here, and in fact it is coming up upon a very important day of the year for Laxey, because it is soon to be the Laxey Fair Day. That is on the 29th of June, and as we talk to Reverend Joe Dudley at the top of the show there, that is when they are going to be announcing the fact that the Christ Church is going to be the welcome centre for the Laxey Heritage Trail. So yes, that's coming up on the 29th of June, Laxey Fair, so do come on down to that. And then it is Make Music Day as well on Friday the 21st, and there's a drop-in event at the Christ Church for that as well on Friday.
But we've had a wonderful hour here. It's not over. We are going to speak to people, as we say, and the podcast will be available shortly. Just want to say thank you to the lovely Sarah Hendy, who has been taking our video and photographs for us. Ben Hartley's been pushing the buttons back at Broadcasting House, and our location engineer, who hasn't even had any cake yet, Matty Cunningham, sitting there. Oh, no, he has, apparently. He has. He's okay.
There's only one way we can end this show, to be fair, Beth.
It's a
There's
Laxey
one
theme
song. It's the soul of Laxey. I think we should end with Man in Folk and the Laxey Wheel. Obviously, we can sing along, no one else can, but I think we should let's just do it, and we'll just dance along.
Okay, let's do it. So here they are. We'll be back on Monday. Hope you have a great weekend.
When Laxey was a mining village many years ago, there were 600 miners working under Captain Rowe. But the bottom of the mine shaft was below the water line, so they had to build a wheel to pump the water from the mine. And the Laxey wheel keeps turning, turning, turning in Lady Isabella's memory. And while the water flows, the Laxey wheel still goes, and the Laxey river runs down to the sea. For 3/4 of a century there were fortunes lost and found, as the miners dug the lead and zinc from underneath the ground. Then came a Great Depression in 1929, and the miners drew their wages for the last time at the mine. And the Laxey wheel keeps turning, turning, turning in Lady Isabella's memory. And while the water flows, the Laxey wheel still goes, and the Laxey river runs down to the sea. It stood now for 100 years through wind, rain, snow and drought, and it will keep on turning till the sands of time run out. And though the main mine building is no more than a shell, the wheel still stands majestic in the shadow of Snaefell. And the Laxey wheel keeps turning, turning, turning in Lady Isabella's memory. And while the water flows, the Laxey wheel still goes, and the Laxey river runs down to the sea. And while the water flows, the Laxey wheel still goes, and the Laxey river runs down to the sea.